Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. This is the Sunday garden question and answer video where I answer gardening questions that got asked in the previous garden question and answer video. I didn't do one of these last week, and next week is Subscriber Sunday, which is the first Sunday of every month. If you're interested in sending in photos for the Subscriber Sunday video, you can send them to this email address right here. I have quite a few photos already for that video. I won't be back with a question and answer video till later in December. You're welcome to ask questions below this video, but it will be a while before I have another one of these. I'm actually going on a fairly epic trip. My son is graduating from his undergrad, and we're going to take a fairly epic trip. If you want to follow along with that, I'll have photos on Instagram at HortTube. If you don't currently follow me at Instagram, and you can see where we are heading cross country. And I will have video content during that, though I'm working hard on that. I've actually shot a lot of things that I'm still editing. And you guys have seen in the last few weeks, the last couple weeks since I did a question and answer, that I got up some of the older videos that I had shot, like the two down in Athens with Dr. Alan Armitage. Those were very well received. He's such a great, he's so great. And him and I are communicating quite a bit about doing some additional projects together next year, so I'm looking forward to that. Possibly even a something podcast related. So, and with other people in the horticulture business as well. So I'm kind of excited about that, and something to look forward to in 2021, which I'm sure everybody would like to be looking forward to 2021. A couple things, not normally very salesman-y on this channel at all. You guys know that. I'm not trying to sell you anything, but if you're interested in getting, a t-shirt from my Teespring thing, not requirement in any way, shape, or form, I do have a discount for the month of December, which is HORT3, all caps. And then the other thing is, there's a Corona web page that has all of the tools that I use in the videos. And if you use the code HortTube15, you get a 15% discount off Corona tools and free shipping as well. So two things for December. Those are in the past now. I don't like to be ever be salesman-y at all, but if you're interested in either one of those, there you go. So let's get to some questions that I had on the video from 2 weeks ago. Somebody asked me about a spray to stop dog from chewing on their plants, and I know I've read many times that lemon juice is apparently the thing to use. You can just use a concentrated or a lemon juice, mixed with some water and spray your plants. I think it works on house plants and outdoor plants to keep dogs from chewing on them. I don't have any experience with it, but I mean it's what I've always heard, so I'm assuming there's got to be some truth to it. Okay. Somebody asked me, and of course this question comes up over and over and over again over the years. They planted some new plants and they're losing leaves at the bottom. And so this happens to be camellias, but it kind of doesn't matter what it is. If you plant something and then it starts defoliating from the bottom, generally speaking, that means it got dry at some point. And it can be just the root damage you did to it in the process of planting it. Caused it to not be able to get enough water up to the top, but it's generally speaking not that big of a deal. Sometimes it can run a little wild, and you can lose a lot of leaves. Unfortunately, on something like camellias, they recover so slowly and they're so slow growing, it's probably going to look not that great for a little while. Other things, if it was this this privet or something, it would just immediately, boom, you wouldn't even know it in a month or two of the growing season, when it's actively growing. Camellia is probably going to be a little while if it lost a lot of interior leaves, but it's not something that's going to kill the plant. Okay, somebody asked me, you probably saw the photo of Griffin and I. I get a lot of questions about Griffin, about whether Griffin's worked out or not. I just don't have Griffin in the videos because now I don't know where Holly is actually. Holly, come here. Holly, come. I just can't trust what he's doing behind me while I'm shooting the videos. Other than that, though, he's great and is well adjusted and is getting along great here. Let's see. Somebody asked me about screening plants in a shady space in zone 7. And of course laurels, you know, any of the English laurels will work fine with that. Skip laurel being a really good choice, or West Coast laurel. I have a video on my channel for West Coast laurel. It's a really upright English laurel. That'll definitely work. And then camellias for sure. Camellias though can be kind of slow growing. And then osmanthus. When most osmanthus is going to be full sun or part shade on the tags, but if you go over to the J.C. Ralston Arboretum, all the Fortune's osmanthus, all the osmanthus fragrans, you know, right here, they're all growing in the shade over there quite nicely. So that will be another good choice, and they can get some height on them pretty quick. So any osmanthus. Okay, let's see. And then the next question, which is kind of funny, is somebody has a small osmanthus plant that has a few flowers on it, but they aren't fragrant. I can tell you right now on this cool morning, I can't smell this osmanthus at all, and it's in full flower. Yeah, even putting my nose down in it. It's something, usually mid-morning when the sun starts hitting them, I can smell them then. If you have a small newly planted plant, it may just be something to do with that. But just in general, there's only certain times of the day that I can smell them, and it's usually mid-morning when the sun's on them, and they're super, super fragrant at that time. So it could be that. Let's see. Somebody asked me if plants always outgrow containers, and the answer to that is yes. And even if it doesn't outgrow the container, let's say I had something, let's say I had some sort of perennial plant that goes dormant every winter. Let's say I was just growing a hosta in a container, and it goes dormant every year and it comes back. I mean, I can certainly keep that thing in a container forever. It's going to also outgrow the soil that's in the pot. So even if the plant's not outgrowing the container, occasionally shrubs, trees, perennials need to come out of the container. Some of the soil will be knocked off of them and some fresh potting mix put in there. So like that Japanese maple I have out there is in probably the equivalent of maybe a 15-gallon pot. It's that Japanese maple's constantly in my on my Instagram. It's another reason to follow me on Instagram, but it's in full color right now. It's in a 15-gallon pot, and I've had that plant for, gosh, 15 years, maybe a long time. I've had that tree, and I'm able to keep it in a same size pot because about once a year I pull it out of the container, knock some of the soil off of it, and replant it in some new potting mix. So even if it doesn't outgrow it, you still need to replant it even in the same pot occasionally to have a plant that really is vigorous. And you'll see plants just get tired in the containers if you don't do that. So I get a lot of questions over the years about controlling fire ants, and I've never really addressed fire ants at all. I usually treat mound to mound, and I'll use something like Amdro, which is an insecticide. There are a couple biological controls which you can Google that are supposed to kill the queens without being a chemical. Of course, they're still chemicals. And then there's folks that swear by just pouring hot water on them or soapy water on them. I think that doesn't actually kill the queen. I think they just pack up and move. My concern with fire ants has always been I don't understand the mentality of treating your entire yard to prevent fire ants. I mean, why would we punish all the native ants and every other insect that's in your yard for fire ants? So if I see a fire ant mound, I just go treat it. And I realize that some of you may have a lot of fire ant mounds that need to be treated, but that's the way I do it. I just go one mound at the time. I remember Wake County, where I'm at, was one of the first counties in North Carolina that had fire ants introduced into North Carolina. I know the landscaper who was on the landscape job where the trees came in that had fire ants in them, and they were introduced into Wake County. And since then, we've just done such a terrible job of controlling them. Fire ants come back faster than our native ants can. And so if you wipe out all of the ants in your yard and all of the other things that might be predators to fire ant mounds, the fire ants just come back quicker. You actually did them a favor. You killed the fire ant mounds that were there, but ultimately, I think we do the fire ants a service every single time we put down in general insecticides and clear everything out. The fire ants just come back quicker than everything else. So treat them. I understand everybody wants to treat them, wants them gone, but if whatever treatment you use, whether it be one of those biologicals, whether it be pouring, you know, just trying to move them around using hot water and or using a chemical, you know, an insecticide. Please just treat the one mound at the time, and don't punish everything else in the world for, you know, for fire ants. So that's my only honest advice. There's no, we live with fire ants now. If you're in an area that has fire ants, you're always going to have fire ants, and you know, treat mound to mound. Let's see. I answered where is Griffin, and okay. Somebody asked me, they had planted like 1,500 bulbs and just wanted to know which ones come back or don't come back, and it was from the bulb planting video that I put up the other day. It just depends on where you live. Honestly, if you live in zone 6, almost all the bulbs come back. It's a weird line. It's only in most of the bulbs that don't, the early spring flowering bulbs are what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about summer flowering bulbs. That's different. Normally those things are more tropical, but the late winter, early spring flowering bulbs, the daffodils and alliums and those kinds of things, those things, a lot of them need a little bit of cold treatment. So it's the colder areas that actually can do those things better than the warmer areas. But if you're in zone 7 where I'm at, the only real thing that rarely comes back well are tulips. And 7A, maybe they do. 7B, somewhere in the line here is where tulips just really struggle. We may get a winter. So I'm cold treating my tulips now. I can put them in the ground this year. They'll bloom great for me. I may get a winter next year that's actually cold enough to actually cold treat them, and then they come up and do well again. But I will eventually get a non-winter winter here in 7B, and they'll decline over time. Hyacinths, we're on the border with here. Of you know, sometimes they come back great, and I see them for some folks. They just come back every year. For me, they decline a little bit each year until they just kind of fade away. And it may have something to do with the clay soil as well in my area. But from basically zone 7A up, you know, most of those early spring flowering bulbs are pretty reliable, coming back every year. And it's the folks that are further south that are, you know, redoing tulips every year. Okay, let's see. Last one here. I talked about my Tilley hat. I wish I had it on right this minute. I didn't think to bring it out. In the beginning of the first video with Dr. Armitage, he is in that Tilley hat the whole, you know, in both videos. He's kind of known for that hat, and I've had one of them for 25 years. I have a newer one, but it's not great. Somebody asked me where you can get them, and you can order those Tilley hats online. If you have let's call it a higher end outdoor store, like I have Outdoor Provisions right down the road from me. If you have a typically nicer or higher end outdoor sports places that sell kayaks and tents and those kinds of things, will have Tilley hats, and they're not inexpensive, but it's a hat that I've had and worn outside and sweated in, and it has been around this country and worked in some pretty tough conditions for 25 years. I've had that hat, and it's got some holes worn in it. They guarantee them forever, but I'd never send that hat back. There's no possibility that I would ask them to replace a 25-year-old hat that I put through everything, and I mean everything. So yeah, the outdoor sporting companies will have those Tilley hats, or like I say, you can order one. You can order one online. So that's it for this week. Again, you can ask questions down below, but it's going to be a few weeks before I have another one of these question and answer videos. I will put up the Subscriber Sunday video on the way out of town, and if you want to, again, follow me over on Instagram, and you can see where we're heading across country. Thanks for watching.